All right, how is it going, everybody? I don't know what the heck is going on, if I'm gonna be honest with y'all, but I thought I might as well go live, pretty much breaking this news. The New York Rangers have fired their president, John Davidson, and fired their GM, Jeff Gorton, out of nowhere. So, if you're just joining me on the live stream, say hello in the chat, down below. If you're watching this on the replay, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button for more hockey content just like this one as soon as it could possibly be made. Let me quickly, or as you guys can see, the news did break. We did get quite a bit of information though. Sources say the New York Rangers president John Davidson and GM Jeff Gorton scurried to distance themselves from the team statement that was issued on Tuesday night, telling other executives that they did not know it was in the works until after it was released. So apparently Jeff Gorton and John Davidson didn't really agree with that statement and also didn't really have a part in it. And according to some other sources, it had to do with the course James Dolan, the owner of the New York Rangers, not seeing eye to eye with Jeff Gorton and John Davidson and just firing them right out of the blue, no hesitation whatsoever. And Chris Jury, as we see as well here, will be the new president and GM of the New York Rangers. Both because of the Tom Wilson incident. So, say hello down in the chat down below. Put some L's in the chat down below too if you want to, because this is a wacky situation, I must say. Let me also pull the chat up real quick so I can get that going, because my goodness, we have 120 people already in this live stream. Thank you all for joining us once again. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're super close right now to 30 or 34.1k as I'm deciding this, and we could make a new mod today as well. But let me quickly put this over there so I can just go into here, click the tags over here, and then do that. All right, we're good to go now. But yeah, how are you guys going? I saw Boyle in the chat a little bit ago. Let me quickly actually, let me load up the chat on my screen. But yeah, just out of nowhere, out of the blue, this ends up happening, y'all. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are y'all? Because for me, I would say a clean 9. Because this was about as out of the blue as it could have possibly been. Obviously, the Rangers put out that huge statement yesterday regarding the Tom Wilson incident. I guess I'll read it there for everybody that hasn't seen it already. If I can scroll down all the way real quick, please. Okay, there we go. So, the New York Rangers are extremely disappointed that Capitals forward Tom Wilson was not suspended for his horrifying act of violence last night at Madison Square Garden. Wilson is a repeat offender with a long history of these type of acts, and we find it shocking that the NHL and the Department of Player Safety failed to take the appropriate action and suspend him indefinitely. Wilson's dangerous and reckless actions caused an injury to Artemi Panarin that will prevent him from playing the rest of the season. We view this as a dereliction of duty by NHL head of player safety George Parros and believe he is unfit to continue in his current role. So that was the absolute bombshell laid out. By the way, let me give some shout outs here. We got Hayden Hockey Outlet Studios, Zebra, Owen Gamer, Cameron, Danny, Minka, Ian, Top Shelf Pulls, Cookie Plays, Jacob, Bishop. How are you guys doing, Zibber? But I don't like it's obviously Jeff Gore. It's obviously I'm flabbergasted, right? You guys can obviously tell I am absolutely flabbergasted by this news. But it's obviously James Dolan having a huge part of that. I mean, Chris Jury was brought into the organization pretty recently and is now the president and GM already. Like, being both the president and the GM, that seems like a pretty tall order. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it seems like this whole incident started. So what we also heard too is that it's not because they didn't like Davidson or they didn't like Jeff Gorton in terms of the actual managerial decisions. They got rid of them only because of the Tom Wilson incident. Only because of the Tom Wilson incident are those two guys out of the organization, which to me is a really big overreaction. Now, I think that for Tom Wilson, I do agree in some aspects for the New York Rangers, but in other ways, to fire your GM and the president of hockey operations, probably the two most important guys in terms of the hockey operations of the team, you're gonna get rid of them just out of the blue because of some disagreements. To me, that's quite a bit. Let me know your thoughts though in the chat. How much of an overreaction or underreaction, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. To me, the Rangers, It's obviously James Dolan's doing, and we can see that. But man, I don't see how it's logical to do all of this. I can see why they go for a statement like that and try to go after the NHL in that way, because in some aspects I think Tom Wilson got off a little bit too much. But again, to get rid of your GM and president of hockey operations, and you have now one guy to fill that whole role. Like, I like Chris Drury, and I think he was a solid player, and a guy that I thought has done a decent job of the Rangers org so far. But to have both of those roles already, I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems like a lot for me. M Hockey, what's going on? We got 170 people, by the way, in this chat. Thank you all for joining us. Let's get to 200 if we can. And let me check out where we're at subscriber-wise. And by the way, if you're watching this replay, thanks so much for tuning in, because I'm probably as surprised as you guys are right now. We're, by the way, 16 subscribers away from 24.1. So can we get some 16s in the chat as well? But man, like, I was already pretty dialed into the Rangers game tonight. But now it's like, now I don't even know what's supposed to happen, because it obviously was an organizational difference between the two parties, and it seemed like John Davidson and Jeff Gorton were on like this one party as opposed to James Dolan, and that's why James Dolan just axed the whole department. Now this, to me, and I'm gonna say, some people might not agree with this, this is a bad sign, I think, for the New York Rangers. This is a bad sign in some ways. In other ways, I think in some ways, organizational differences and having that type of difference, you don't really want that in terms of your owner and GM and president relationships. But at the same time, we've seen James Dolan do this with the other franchises he owns. He has done this so many times with the New York Knicks, and it's always been like, oh, he owns the New York Rangers, but he doesn't really do too much, right? He kind of just is the owner, and he lets the managerial guys do their thing and control the team, and he doesn't really have too much influence. But after this week, it seems like he's taken a much bigger role in everything, and that it might not be that he's hands off. This was, I think, a James Dolan thing, and he gets rid of the president and the GM in one fell swoop. In one fell swoop, both the president and the GM. To me, that's pretty heavy. And going from an owner, which, in my opinion, owners should never be as hands-on as this, unless it's dire situations. And it seemed like, from what we've seen, John Davidson and Jeff Gorton, yes, disagreed or didn't get the memo, at least when it came to the statement that they put out yesterday. But if it was like a slight disagreement or something, like even if it was like that, to get rid of both of them just because of that seems like just a heavy overreaction. I don't know. I'm really concerned for the Rangers here, because again, I think they were heading in the right direction in terms of what they were looking for, and I thought that Jeff Gorton, like, I'm gonna be honest, let me know in the chat right now, if you were to rank Jeff Gorton among NHL GMs, where would you have him? Because in my opinion, he would be a top 15 GM. And in some aspects, he's one of the best, in my opinion, in terms of getting the right pieces in place in development, and in terms of the AHL system, and in terms of drafting and scouting. I think he's great in that regard. And in some aspects, I think in trading and signing, he has been pretty decent. There's others, like the Jacob Trouba contract, which are not great, but it's kind of far and few between when it comes to his terrible moves, because he hasn't made that many. And to me, it's like he's a guy that shifted that Rangers organization into one of the youngest powerhouses in the NHL. A team that has the potential to win multiple cups if they can actually realize their full potential. And you get rid of the GM that built all of that, basically. It was Jeff Gorton that did that. And obviously, guys like John Davidson has been a part of that too. But that whole organizational shift was because, really, of these two guys. And now you're getting rid of them completely. Now, I don't think they're going to go in a completely opposite direction. They're still probably going to ride the course. But to get rid of these two guys just because of that seems like a lot, y'all. A lot. Ziga, what's going on? I think, let me see. Hello, Grab turned 19 2 days ago. Rich, that's fantastic, man. Yeah, I'd probably have him like around like 10 to 13-ish. That to me would be pretty much perfect, but man, like, I'll go for the rest of this. I don't know how many more news we'll actually get on this. I'm still gathering info, but what I'm hearing is that this does not have to do with New York Rangers' statement on Tom Wilson. Rather, this is something owner Jim Dolan has been mulling. Even though rebuild is going well by most accounts, it wasn't happening fast enough for him. Well, that contradicts, I thought I saw Saravelli say that, sources say that New York Rangers president John Davidson and Jeff Gorton agreed to distance themselves. So that was also a part of it. Oh my gosh, we had 2 straight donations. What the heck? James coming up with the 2 of the New York Rangers owners selling the team. I would doubt it. Like, to me, I think this is more of a sign that Dolan wants to have more of a control with the Rangers. Like, I don't think he would axe his president of hockey ops and the GM just to say, oh, I'm going to sell the team next up. Like, I don't, if I was going to sell the team, I would just do nothing and just end up selling the team. I'm honestly not James Dolan. I'm not a friggin' billionaire, but to me, it seems like he's having a much more hands-on approach. So I don't think so, James. I think this is more of a James Dolan getting more control, which I'm not ecstatic about, if I'm being real honest. So we'll see. We'll see. Tyler also coming over the 2 as well. This just is going all in on Eichel all over. Yeah, I don't even know what to think of Jack Eichel, and I'm like, this whole Rangers season has been so weird. So much has gone on, and I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, for Rangers fans in this chat, I don't know why, some of you might be older on the older side. When was the last time a season was this close in terms of chaoticness? Like, you might say 2014, but that's just in terms of like the pure team being good and being exciting. Like, in terms of pure chaos and pure almost every single emotion. When was the last season for the Rangers that was this crazy? I don't think there's been one for a very long time. In terms of the excitement and the disappointment and the drama and the chaos and the potential firings and all this different stuff. It's been so chaotic, and it just ends with this. Like, you basically completely change in the course of a season. It's pretty weird, y'all. Also, Hayden coming in with a $1 Canadian. Thank you so much, Hayden. Appreciate that. But yeah, thank you so much, all the people out there that have super chatted. Appreciate that a ton. And honestly, I like, that's one of the most fun parts about these streams, is that I'm able to talk with y'all, and especially the donations help a ton. So thank you so much for every single one out there. And we got E-Town coming in with a hello. What leaves forever? What happened? So I'll slow it down for a second and get you guys back on track. So Elliot Friedman came out of nowhere and said the New York Rangers have fired John Davidson and Jeff Gorton. And from what we saw, John Davidson and GM Jeff Gorton did not agree with, or at least we're not told, but kind of insinuating that they did not agree with the statement that they put out on Tom Wilson yesterday. Now, we also got some words that it wasn't directly because of this, which makes sense, because I don't think that Dolan would have completely. I don't think Dolan would have completely done it just because of the Wilson situation. There had to be something more on top of that, so it makes sense. But I think it was both, honestly. Like, I think it was 2 things going into one here. I'm kind of shook, not gonna lie, hoping they get rid of Quinn next. Julian, that was the thing I tweeted. I needed to put my tweet out there, because this is one of my greatest tweets. The New York Rangers fired their general manager and president of hockey operations before David Quinn. David Quinn outlasted Jeff Gorton. What? How does it even happen? Oh my goodness. You got me there, Julian. You made me remember that. Like, how did David Quinn outlast Jeff Gorton? I don't even know how that's even possible. But here it is, and it's a thing. Oh my gosh. Makama, by the way, of the 2 Canadian. Thoughts on Caulfield's 2 OT goals back-to-back. Honestly, if Caulfield has another good game if he has another OT goal, I'll make a video about that for sure. But honestly, I think Cole Caulfield's been really underrated in his few NHL games. I mean, even when he wasn't scoring and people were bragging on him, he was still playing pretty good defense, and his forechecking was looking in a positive direction. And I didn't think he was too out of place in the NHL. His first game was and I would say the first 2 games were kind of average, but he really started to get going this past week. And yeah, he's looking great. And I'm really hoping that's able to continue, because Cole is the man. Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what to think of the game tonight, y'all, because, like, Tom Wilson's going to be playing. He's going to be playing in that game. So let me know in the chat as well, like for Rangers fans, but anybody if you want to chip in. Who do you think is the most likely to take a run at Tom Wilson? Because I think what the NHL and George Parros is saying here, at the very least, is that Tom Wilson can get away with this. But if you don't want him to get away with it, get him yourself. That's what basically is happening here. I think if they suspended him for one game and had him out for this game, that would have sent a message that he would obviously be out for that one, and the Rangers couldn't get revenge that way. But if you're the New York Rangers, and you're a player like Chris Kreider, or you're a player like Brendan Smith, and you look at the opportunity to get back at Tom Wilson, if he gets, like, cross-checked in the teeth, if he gets, like, ragdolled across the ice at least twice this game, who is surprised? The NHL is obviously not going to be, because that's what they're trying to make happen. I don't think they're trying to make it happen, but that's what they're allowing to happen if it does end up happening. Because obviously they looked at the schedule and saw the Rangers are playing them next. It's going to be a sweet revenge tonight. Like, the Rangers, if they want to, can go at Tom Wilson as much as possible, and it's gonna be a spectacle. And by the way, of course, I'll be streaming that tonight, so I hope to see you there. We got 350 people in this chat though, and 1 like away from 69, so make sure you get that done, y'all. And subscribe if you're new. We're 16 subscribers away from 34.1k, which is crazy. But man, by the way, there was there one other? Yeah, Hayden with another $1. Thanks so much, Hayden, coming through again. Can we get some Hayden hype? My goodness. You look like an NHL insider with your profile picture. Yeah, I was able to do some photo shoots like a few months back, and I'm just keeping it for a long time because I think it's pretty funny. I try to make it look as official as possible, and I think I did a pretty good job there. Oh man. All right, so I don't think we've seen anything else yet. I'm gonna check Vince once more. With Davidson and Gorton out, Chris Drury will take the reins for NYR. We're going to find out if it's interim or long-term decision. And we also saw Elliot Friedman say that he is the GM at present. I mean, if we're being honest, if I was the New York Rangers, having one guy at both positions would seem a little bit crazy. But like, that's exactly what's happening here. Why are you putting yourself in a position to have one person as your president of hockey ops and your GM? Like, it's a different situation to be like a GM and play like the coach for a game or something, but the president and GM, that's the whole team. He has the whole team to his hands. And I think Chris Drury's a great person, and I think he's done well with the Rangers organization so far. But you shouldn't put anybody in that position. Why? You are the New York Rangers, for crying out loud, and you don't have somebody to fill one of those other positions? I don't know, man. It just screams of underpreparedness to me. Like, Chris Drury is not underpreparedness because you brought him in the organization and he's now obviously filling that role now. But you couldn't have somebody else? Like, where's the, like, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Larry Brooks said it was going to be Messier? No way. Nah, okay. Yeah, nah. If Mark Messier was coming back to the organization, that was going to be pretty crazy. Mason Gertson from Hartford is huge and fought a lot in preseason. Yeah, there was rumors that he would be called up today. I haven't seen that. We haven't seen any lines or anything from the Rangers, which is to be expected, I think, with the situation. But yeah, I mean, that's... if there was anybody to bring up and make an impact, I think he would definitely want to taste, that's for sure. Wait, Mark Messier will most likely be their president according to insiders. Okay, let me just look up Mark Messier, why not? Let me see what the good old Twitter box is saying here. I mean, Mark Messier as the next president, that is interesting. I mean, we'll see how quickly that comes into play. I'm hoping as soon as possible. And I don't really know where Mark Messier is right now. So, I mean, obviously it's a hometown fit with Mark Messier of the Rangers. Obviously that's a fit with him organizationally. That's interesting. As president of hockey operations, we'll see how that ends up working out. I'd assume Chris Drury stays as the GM and as the, I guess, the interim. In that scenario, I would say Chris Drury is probably the GM next up, and then Mark Messier is probably the president in line, and Drury is just kind of filling that role. It depends how long it takes to get into that position, because if Messier is ready for like the expansion draft and everything after this season, then that's perfectly okay. I'm just hoping they don't take too long to bring Messier in, because again, president of hockey operations, that's a big role. That's a big role. So we'll see. Is expected to court Messier as the choice for the next president of the New York Rangers. So it's not officially done. It doesn't seem like court Messier as his choice. So it seems like it's James Dolan's choice and not Mark Messier's. We'll see. We'll see how that ends up working out. I would like to see that just for story purposes, but we'll see. Let me know in the chat, though. Let me know in the chat. Yes or no? Do you see Messier as president working out for the New York Rangers? I would say I think it has a decent chance of working out if they give him time to prepare. Like, that's the big thing. They got to give him some time to actually get into that role. James, by the way, the two, Mark Messier is the GOAT. That is true. That is very true. And also 10 ball GOAT, the 3 Canadian. Thanks so much, brother. Wilson saga plus statement, the firings, clear cuts. Yep. I mean, honestly, like this Ranger season, I don't think could have been more chaotic unless they traded like Alexi Lafreniere out of nowhere. Like, it's been about as like I haven't even mentioned the D'Angelo and Gorgiev situation in this live stream, and how that's also been a part of things. Like, there's been so much this year, man, so much, and now we have this. Mark Messier will be going to the Rangers apparently. Chris Drury, I think, was the assistant general manager in that role behind Jeff Gorton. You guys can make me corrected or something if that's wrong. I think he was the assistant GM and was brought in about a year and a half ago, I think. Yeah, we got 350. I think we almost got to 400 a few minutes ago. Thank you all for joining me today. If you are new to this channel, though, and are enjoying the content and the breakdown so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're about 15 subscribers away from 34.1K, and that's absolutely huge, on the road to 35K, so everybody is appreciated. And we make pretty much almost daily hockey content just like this, and we go live for different announcements, too, so everybody is appreciated. By the way, we have 12 to go now until 24.1, so get some 12s in the chat, y'all, please. I'd appreciate it. Can we fire David Quinn? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think here's the thing, too. Here's the thing. If they were going to fire David Quinn for this season, they would have done it already. Like, at this point, let's be real here. At this point, with 3 games to go in the season, what's really the point in getting rid of David Quinn? Like, to me, that's... It's one of those situations, kind of like John Tortorella in Columbus, where, yeah, you would want to fire him, but you only have like a week left of the season, so you might as well write it out, and his contract also expires after the season, too. But with David Quinn, it's like, to me, there's not really a solution right now. If they were going to fire him, they should have done it like halfway through this year, but that obviously did not end up happening. I'm surprised no team has hired Gallant yet. That's also a surprise to me. I thought he would be signed like in the first year of him being a free agent, but he's been there. He's been unemployed for like 2.5 years, right? That's crazy. Yeah, so I'll be streaming that game in 2.5 hours, pretty much. So I hope to see you there for that one. I honestly can't wait. Like the Rangers this year have had so much chaos, man. And tonight might not be like the biggest playoff game, like playoff type game for them, but it might be the craziest game the Rangers play this year. Like, even though I don't expect it to be like line brawls every single minute, I think we will see Tom Wilson get his face punched in at least like twice. I think he's gonna have some serious contestants. And I'm gonna be real here. Since Tom Wilson did not get suspended and he's allowed to play this game, which he will play this game, obviously, if the Rangers don't at least attempt to get some revenge on Tom Wilson, I think that's an absolute disgrace. Like, the NHL has obviously put the situation in the New York Rangers players' hands. You can either let him go and continue to get scot-free with whatever he's doing, or you can take it into your own hands. And I think this is what Sean Avery talked about too in his video, which is crazy. But he talked about, at this point, doing something, anything possible to make Tom Wilson regret at least somewhat doing what he did to Panarin, doing what he did to Buchnevich. Like, if I'm the New York Rangers and you're looking at 2 of your most talented forwards that got ragdolled, embarrassed by Tom Wilson, if I'm Brendan Smith, if I'm Chris Kreider, who is supposed to be in a lot of ways the next captain for the New York Rangers, And if Chris Kreider does not do anything tonight, I'm going to be absolutely flabbergasted. It will be an absolute disgrace for Chris Kreider to go out there, do nothing, not even think about touching Tom Wilson, and just let him go by. Chris Kreider, I think, can really prove that leadership to us. Prove that leadership to Rangers fans tonight. And I think it needs to have, I don't think you need to kill Tom Wilson, but you need to send some type of message that is not going to go by, especially if this team wants to be competitive in the playoffs, especially if this team wants to get taken seriously. You don't let Tom Wilson do that to your team. You don't let Tom Wilson do that to the best player you've had since Jaromir Jagr, skating-wise. You don't let it happen. And if I'm Chris Kreider, I'm doing something. If I have the opportunity, I'm doing something. That's what I would do. Let me know what you guys would do in that situation. Oh, he's hurt? I forgot about that. Well, Brendan Smith's also there too, which, hey, he probably won't be back next season, but hey, you might as well take out your Rangers tenure with an absolute bang. We'll see. Just, I said Kreider as an example. Anybody, just anybody, please. Oh my goodness. Like, this is, like, I think we got a good return for Brendan Lemieux, but today would have been a great day to have Brendan Lemieux. That's all I'm going to say. What's your take on D'Angelo possibly going to Seattle? I haven't heard anything about that. I would doubt it, though. I would doubt it. We right now got 420 absolute beauties. Can we get some nice in the chat down below for that? Appreciate it. If you are new, though, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for more hockey and Rangers talk just like this one. Thank you all so much for joining me. And as some of you guys know, I'm a Dallas Stars fan first and foremost, but I like the Rangers quite a bit. And honestly, besides the Stars, I've watched the Rangers the most this season out of any team in the NHL. And this season has been one for the history books. So much crap has gone on. Let's see. Sign Doug Glatz. Honestly, if you want to bring back like a Tanner Glass or even a Sean Avery or even a Jordan LaRock, I would not say no. I would not say no. Just saying. And even LaRock said, I don't even know if he said it on Twitter, but actually, I think, did he? Here we go. Hey, Rangers, give me a one-game contract for tonight's game, and I'll take care of Tom Wilson. I mean, honestly, if I'm the Rangers, I fulfill LaRock's wish. I mean, that is too good. That is too good. I imagine he comes out of retirement and just bodies Tom Wilson out of nowhere. It's like WWE style. I'll check if there's any other updates here. And it doesn't seem like it. I'll try to check all the Rangers insiders for y'all. Check Molly, and I'll also check Molly Walker. I'll also try to is that not her name? Okay, fine, I'll check Larry David, or I'll check Larry David. Sorry, Brooksy. Oh man. Okay, so the Wilson situation was the final nail in the coffin. Honestly, like, it didn't seem like it was like that Jeff Gorton and Davidson were fired because of it, but it also seemed like it did not help. Oh man. So it doesn't seem like there's any other big updates, which I'll also try to check. If I remember correctly. Yeah, nothing after that, but yeah, also from David Pagnotta, Davidson was hired in May 2019, 24 months ago. So, Capo Caco number right there. Good job on 35K, ASAM. Not yet, but I appreciate the early celebration. Let's go, Tom Wilson. Wow, Oscar, I see you. Rangers are not a playoff team in the East this year. I suspect, honestly, record-wise, I honestly think they've exceeded my expectations point-wise. But I saw the Rangers missing the playoffs this year. I think it's a good foundational year in terms of a lot of the players taking that next step. I mean, here, like, if you're the New York Rangers, you could make the playoffs and have all your veterans do great and all that. But you had Adam Fox elevate to a Norris Trophy-like level. Keandre Miller was great this year. Ryan Lindgren took that next step. Shesterkin is amazing. In terms of the forward group, you had Lafreniere getting a lot better. Kakko looking night and day better than last year. You had Vitaly Kravtsov looking great. Buchnevich took that next step. Panarin was still amazing because Zibanejad started off slow, but got better as the season went on. I think there's a lot of positives for the Rangers, and they're in this position where, especially in the East this year, like, there's a ton of fantastic teams. And I'm not really too embarrassed for the Rangers that they missed the playoffs. I mean, it was probably the most hard division. It is the hardest division to make the playoffs in the NHL this year. And the Rangers, if they were to make it, I thought would be a little bit of a miracle. So I'm kind of good either way. Do you think Igor Sharangovich has a chance of being the third player nominated for the Calder? The third player, I don't know. I mean, the goaltending has kind of fallen off a little bit with Lankinen not doing as great recently. That's an interesting race to me. Sharangovich has still played great though for the Devils, so I would not be surprised if he gets some consideration for the top 3. I doubt he gets as high as that though. Like, we can look at the stats right now. Some of that I think is just playing on the Devils and just not having a great exposure opportunity. But in terms of the rookies this year, I don't know if you guys, let me see if you guys can see all of that. It's real. So this is the leaderboard right now. If I can shrink that down a little bit too. All right, there we go. So honestly, like, to me, I think the top 3 is pretty much locked in with Kaprizov, Robertson, and Norris. Maybe you have Shesterkin at that 3rd spot. I could see some votes going that way. But yeah, I mean, Sharangovich is still really, really solid. I mean, 29 points in 51 games. That's nothing to scoff at. I think he's probably going to end up either 5th or 6th, I would say. I think that's pretty much where he lies. But yeah, honestly, like, I think Kirill, Kaprizov, Robertson, and Norris. No, let me know in the chat, by the way, what your top 3 would end up being, or even top 5. Because I would go Kaprizov, Robertson, and Josh Norris at number 3. And probably Shesterkin at number 4 is what I would go with there. But yeah, this has been a crazy day, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me. 381 people in here now. So close to 34.1. So if you did subscribe, let me know in the chat down below so we can shout you out as deserved. By the way, let me know in the chat because I put a community post out there too yesterday, I think, about how many games Tom Wilson should have gotten or what the punishment should have been for Tom Wilson. So I want you guys to do a little bit of an exercise right now. All 381 people in here. We have 4 options. 4 options. The first option, so what I want you to do is either put 1, 2, or 3, 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. Put 1 in the chat if you think Tom Wilson should have gotten that $5,000 fine, that maximum fine, and what he got there. 2 in the chat if you think Tom Wilson should have got 1 to 3 games, which basically is the rest of the regular season. 3 if you think he should have gone the regular season and the playoffs in terms of suspension. And 4, you think he should have been suspended for longer than just this year. So going into next season, potentially, maybe even the season after that, if you go that crazy. Let me know in the chat. 1 for fine, 2 for 1 to 3, 3, 4. Oh, God. I'm not doing it. Trust me, I'm not doing it. 3 for the regular season, the playoffs, and 4 for after this season too. To me, if I was going to say my opinion, I would probably go this season and like 50% of the playoffs. If you want to do that, like I would probably go like 10 games maybe, but that's just my personal opinion. And we'll obviously see what Tom Wilson gets tonight. Fox should win it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anybody in this chat that doesn't think that Adam Fox should win the Norris Trophy, because if you do, you're wrong. I'm sorry. There was actually a poll by The Athletic yesterday that polled NHL coaches, and Victor Hedman had like 78 points combined compared to Adam Fox's like 40, and it was Victor Hedman number 1 and Adam Fox number 2, which I think is so sad. It's kind of predictable. I'm really hoping NHL writers aren't on that level, because Adam Fox deserves so much more than what he's getting nationally. I know Rangers fans and a lot of NHL fans are dialed in know how good Adam Fox is, but he has been the best defenseman in the NHL this year. And Victor Hedman, points wise has been decent this year, but he's kind of have a down year in terms of his overall play compared to years prior. So if there's any year to give Victor Hedman the Norris, it would not be this year in my opinion. Let me see what y'all thinking. I think they got fired because there are no enforcers on the Rangers after what happened. Rangers could not defend themselves. The thing is here, I think you don't need to have enforcers to defend yourselves. I mean, Tom Wilson is a good example of not being an enforcer, but it can also play hockey. Like, the most frustrating thing I think we can all agree about Tom Wilson is that he's a really good player. Like, he's one of the best players in the Washington Capitals, yet he does terrible things after terrible things for no reason. It's unnecessary. I like players that play on edges. I like players that can bring some intensity while also just playing amazingly. I think players like that are super influential in cup wins, and Tom Wilson was a big reason why they won in 2018. And I think the Rangers could definitely use a player like that. But you don't need like a Tanner Glass to win the Stanley Cup. You need a player like Tanner Glass who can bring that intensity and bring that hard-nosed game, but also score a few goals every once in a while. Those are some of the most valuable players in the NHL. And it's sad that Tom Wilson does the things he does, because he can be one of the most valuable players in the NHL. But when the Washington Capitals are already short-handed in the last game, and then he goes out and gets in a position where he could be suspended, that to me is just reckless and is bad leadership and bad team play. And that's what I don't want in a player like that. But when you can strike that balance, I think it's amazing. And I think some players lose that balance. Guys like Matthew Tkachuk don't quite have that all the time. Guys like, obviously, Tom Wilson. I think there's a lot of players out there that kind of do strike that balance, though. Like a guy like, in my opinion, Blake Coleman, who's an amazing, good, intense winger that can also bring in terms of scrums. He will not back down from anybody, but will also score a lot of goals and forecheck the heck out of you. Like, that's the type of player that I think the Rangers could definitely use, but they don't need that in Forster, in my opinion. Oh my gosh, DHS, Sasha, by the way, the 7 Canadian, hashtag GrabGang, LMAO, don't mind my name, but do you think, well, sorry, I'm sorry, hopefully I did not botch it, I'm sorry, but do you think McDavid and Matthews are having great seasons due to having the easiest division? Well, yeah, I'll say this, they do have the easiest division in the NHL, but I've kind of discussed this a little bit before. I mean, the thing is, I think every division has its weak spots. I mean, even the East, where, yeah, you go against the big competition, you still have games against Buffalo and New Jersey and well, the New York Rangers and the Philadelphia Flyers. And going to the McKinnon side of things, like he faces like Anaheim and Arizona and San Jose and all these teams that just aren't that great. And he also gets to beat up on them. So even though goaltending and defensively the North Division is the weakest in the NHL, I think McDavid's still at a level that should be totally respected. And to me, I mean, both of them, I think, would be in similar positions. Maybe not as much, but similar positions if they were in the West or the Central, in my opinion. Like, even the Central has Detroit and Columbus and those teams to beat up on. So I think every player has their opportunities to get points on the board. This season plus the first round of the playoffs, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as a good barometer. I mean, we'll see if the Capitals get past the first round with how short-handed they are this season. We'll see if injuries affect them more. But yeah, that would be probably what I would have gone for Eliminator. Let me see what you guys are thinking right now, because we got that donation. Thanks so much, by the way, Sasha. I appreciate that. Subscribe, Michael Lab, with the subscription. Thanks so much, Michael. You know what? Let's get some, I'll put it on my phone because I have to look at the chat here. Let's get some Michael Lab hype in the chat. Appreciate that. By the way, if you did subscribe and you let me know in the chat, let me know once again, because I'm now paying a lot more attention to the chat. I had a few rants. Sorry about that. But if you are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please let us know if you did. More Rangers content and hockey content like this almost every single day. So we'd love to have you in the Grab Gang. Going into the playoffs as well, where we're going to be streaming pretty much every single day too, which is going to be a ton of fun. Now, I'm not going to go as hard into the playoffs as I did last year, because last year I was streaming like 2 games a day, and it absolutely killed me. Like, I'm going to be honest, it kind of like destroyed my insides in some ways. Not really. It was still a ton of fun, but it was a lot of work. And this year, I'm probably going to be doing at least a stream every other day, but likely a lot of times, especially during the first round, where we're going to be going every day too. And maybe a couple days as well, we go a couple streams a day too, which is going to be a ton of fun. Let me see. Eichel and Zibanejad down the middle would have been nasty. Oh, it would. I mean, if you could have that center core, oh, and even keeping Strome as like a third line center, that's pretty nasty. Parker, by the way, subscribing 5 minutes ago. Can we get some Parker hype for my boy? Appreciate that a ton. What do you think is the first Swedish player drafted in NHL history or this year? Because this year I'd probably go Fabian Lysell. Or, well, honestly, Lysell, Edmonton. Actually, well, it depends a lot, because Lysell's had the World Junior dominance, which I think will propel his stock. It's really interesting. I think at this rate, with how like Bob McKenzie's list has gone, I'd probably say Edmonton will go the highest. I would say he could go top 5, which will definitely be interesting. Hey, we got some hype for Parker. Greased up deaf guy said, Parker, I love you more than your mom does. Hey, y'all are out of, you guys are out of pocket, but I love y'all. Hey guys, I'm starting a new league with Parros as commissioner and Tom Wilson as head of player safety. Sticks will be used as swords. Thoughts? I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, if I don't see Rafi Torres getting 20 minutes a night, your league is absolutely a joke. But if it does happen, let me know, because I'll be watching that 24/7. Ah, man. Do you think adding Eichel to the Rangers will actually make the team better? It obviously depends what they give up. I mean, if they give up a totally crazy haul or anything, then yeah, it might not make their team better overall. But, like, the Rangers, I think, definitely need somebody super... Like, the thing is, Zibanejad and Ryan Strome is a decent top 2 center core. Like, it's decent. It's okay. It'll get you by. But when you look at NHL Stanley Cup winners, Tampa Bay... You got Stamkos, Point, Gord. The St. Louis Blues, Ryan O'Reilly, Braden Shen, Tyler Bozak. You got, on the Capitals, Nicholas Backstrom, Evgeny Kuznetsov, and the perfect third-line center in Lars Eller at the time. Pittsburgh, freaking Crosby, freaking Malkin. They're pretty decent. Chicago, you got Taves, and you got all those great other players, too. Like, to me, New York could either be in decent position, or they could be in elite competition. Like, Eichel and Zibanejad. There's, like, you have, obviously, Edmonton, you have Pittsburgh, and you have a couple other teams that would rival that. But, truly, how many other teams have a better top 2 center core than that? I don't think it's a ton. And I think they'd be in the top 10 in that department. And you go from a team that's probably around 20 to top 10 in a position as important as center. If you give up a top defensive prospect like Lundqvist, a first-round pick, and a decent prospect on top of that for a guy like that, for a guy like Eichel who could be elite for your team, to me it's worth it. And to me, for the Rangers, that's a piece that, if they could get it done, would be so influential. So influential. Byfield's slipping up a bit, but he's finding his game and making some good passes. Yeah, from what I've seen with Byfield's few NHL games, he's looked okay, and he looks like an 18-year-old in the NHL. Like, he looks like an 18-year-old who has the amazing frame that could build into a great NHL player. There's flashes, but I didn't expect Byfield to be amazing at age 18. This is just kind of like a late season call-up where you see what you got and see what he can bring at his age. So I didn't really expect too much, and he's kind of just been okay. He's made some great passes. Hasn't gotten a crazy amount of points, but I think got his last point a couple days ago. Or that in the same night as the Rangers and Tom Wilson incident, so it kind of was brushed back, sadly. We still got 350 people in this chat. Thank you all for joining me. We are going to be live in 2.5 hours for the Rangers and Capitals game, so I hope to see you there. That's going to be absolutely amazing. But yeah, honestly, like, this whole situation with Tom Wilson and the Rangers, it's obviously taken a big toll on the franchise. But yeah, I'll go back for anybody just coming into this stream. So obviously, the New York Rangers have fired John Davidson and Jeff Gorton. And we had all the information there that apparently it was in the works, or that James Dolan was mulling over the decision that would eventually come. So what I think happened here was that James Dolan wanted more control of the franchise, wanted his true guys in place, and it seemed like there might have been some disagreements between Davidson, Gorton, and Dolan along the way. And it seemed like it was kind of leading up to this, where it was like, okay, you guys have one final straw in terms of what we as a franchise want to bring. And I think that Tom Wilson statement that the Rangers made was James Dolan saying, this is the last straw. And we obviously saw Gorton and we obviously saw Davidson rumored to be not agreeing with it and not being aware of it and not being a part of it, which I think was the last straw. Now, whether that's actually a good move by James Dolan, I don't think so. But it seemed like it was kind of a organizational differences sort of thing. Which, again, for me, if I'm the owner, I don't want to have hands in my organization. I want to have my smart people doing the smart things. And if you're James Dolan and you see the work that Jeff Gorton and John Davidson have done, I would forgive the slightest differences. But again, I'm not a billionaire that gets annoyed at the smallest things that would never affect anybody else. So I'm not in that position, obviously. But like, just make up. This isn't rocket science. You have one of the better GMs in the league. You have one of the best presidents in the league. I don't know, man. It just seems like a backwards decision. I'm really hoping that Chris Drury, though, is able to be the right man for the job, because he's been thrusted into a crazy position, and it seems like Messier will be becoming eventually the president for the New York Rangers, which is also an interesting thing. Let me know in the chat down below too. So if we do see presidents changing and GMs changing, let me know, yes or no. Do you think going from Gorton and Davidson to Messier and eventually, of course, the GM and Chris Drury, do you think that's a good or a bad thing? Put good or bad in the chat down below. Let me know your thoughts there, because I think it has potential to work, but I don't really see there being too many situations where it's better than Davidson and Gorton. Unless there's some humongous decisions that have been strained, or there's humongous differences in the way that Dolan and those two think, then maybe that's different. Unless that's the case, I don't really see this being a move that will make sense for the Rangers long term. They were obviously building their team up. They were building that franchise up into a team that would become one of the best young teams in the NHL. It hasn't quite happened yet, but it could eventually happen next season. And to give up on that complete plan now, I don't know. I think Chris Drury will be solid as a GM, and we'll see what Messier does as the president, but I think I would definitely have given Jeff Gorton some more time, at least. This sounds like a total overreaction. Yeah, I would agree as well, Shadow. I mean, I think for the Rangers in that statement, I like how bold they were and how much drama they spilled, but also at the same time with that post, I mean, I think Tom Wilson should have been suspended. Did he have an insane, like, what was the words that the Rangers used? What was the word the Rangers used? Like, the thing is, I like that they were going bold and going different and trying to get some change in the NHL, because I think, like, even for the NHL, there should always be change that's looked at and trying to get better. But for the Rangers, I mean, horrifying act of violence. I think it was suspension worthy. I think he should have been out for this regular season and the first round. But that's a little bit of an overreaction to me, and I think firing Jeff Gorton and John Davidson because they look to not really completely agree with that is also an overreaction to me. So I don't know where I lie with that completely. It's a crazy situation, y'all, and probably one of the weirdest managerial or managerial situations we've seen in the NHL recently. I don't even know what to completely think of it. I just got home from school, and what the heck, man, Habs fan highlights. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you, brother. And yeah, so I guess I'll scroll back on it. Chris Drury will be the president and GM of the New York Rangers, but we had the Rangers firing John Davidson and Jeff Gorton, so that was the basically the official word on that right now. And I don't even like it's just disappointing to me, man. I think the Rangers could have been there's so many angles. There's so many angles with this. Bella Barada, are you a Rangers fan? Depends on what your definition of a Rangers fan is, because I'm a Dallas Stars fan first and foremost, but the Rangers, if I had to make like a top 3 favorite teams, they would be in that top 3, and I've watched them a ton this year, so I like watching them a lot, and I love a lot of Rangers fans. Like the Rangers fans of this channel are the best. Like, you guys are awesome, and have given me so much support over the years, so I love y'all, and it's just been a fun ride with this Rangers team, but this year has just been on a whole different level of chaoticness. Yeah, that's another thing that I was thinking about, Aiden. I was thinking about how Tom Wilson is reacting to this news, because if you're the New York Rangers, giving out that statement is all, like, here's the thing that I also was thinking about too. This is another thing that was also on top. I know, I keep saying another thing. There's so many layers to this. You also have to think about, if you're the New York Rangers and you truly want to get rid of that Tom Wilson presence, you also have to think about what Tom Wilson wants. Because if I'm Tom Wilson and I'm not in that position where I'm a pest and I want to get under your skin and I want to make you just absolutely think of me every single second of the day because you're so tormented by me, is this not exactly what Tom Wilson wants? Is this not exactly feeding into what Tom Wilson needs and craves from your franchise? Like, if I'm Tom Wilson, this could have not gone better in any way. You didn't get suspended. You were absolutely, in your own words, rent-free from the New York Rangers. You got the GM and the president fired. It was the final nail in the coffin. And you go into this game where the Rangers now have to try to make an impact on you. Now, here is how I think the Rangers can not stoop to Wilson's level and not feed into his hands. The first thing you do is not completely go after Tom Wilson. And I know there's going to be some people that disagree with that. What I think would get under Tom Wilson's skin a lot more and would actually make Tom Wilson not happy was if you go after somebody else. Now, I'm not saying to injure anybody else. I'm not saying to go after anybody else. But if you're going to fight Tom Wilson, you're almost doing exactly what he wants. He's almost choreographed this perfectly. And you know if you fight him in a lot of situations, especially for a lot of those Rangers, you're not going to win. I think there's only a couple of Rangers on the team that can actually win a fight against Tom Wilson, realistically. But let's say you're Chris Kreider, and you could kind of have some tussles with Vitek Vanacek, perhaps. Maybe get a stick up there, you know? Maybe good slide him around, you know, just a little bit, you know? And maybe do some things to him. Again, not saying to injure Vanacek, but I'm saying that if you go after Wilson, that's a lot more in his plan than going after somebody else and actually doing something else to his team. Wilson is prepared to get slammed tonight. We all know this. And it's kind of like the Jake Paul and the Paul brother effect where they thrive when you hate them and you want to see them just get destroyed. Tom Wilson is in that exact same scenario. But if you go after somebody else, it's completely different. It is a completely different scenario. So to me, for the Rangers, it provides a lot of options for tonight. We'll see what they go with, but all I know is that tonight is not going to be boring. That's all I gotta say. Like Ovi or Backstrom, that is actually smart growth. Ovi, I think, is out for today, which I think is maybe a choreographed play by the Capitals, but I think Backstrom's in, I'm pretty sure. But like again, like it could still be the goaltender. I mean, Tom Wilson went after Buchnevich just because Buchnevich was breathing on Vanacek. Like, if Tom Wilson's on the ice and he sees Vanacek get destroyed, he's gonna be a little bit peeved because he tried to kill Buchnevich because he touched him. Just imagine what he would do if you cross-check Vanacek in the face. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Let me see. What will make Wilson more angry is scoring 9 goals on them, Philadelphia. That is true. I mean, okay, I'll say this. The perfect scenario is that the Rangers just blow out the Washington Capitals, and that will be perfect. That would be absolutely perfect. But also in the same way, he's in the playoffs and not you. So in some other situation, I think you do need to do something else. But also scoring 9 goals is not the worst thing in the world. It's not terrible. I'll definitely take that. Not gonna lie. Welcome Tom Wilson to Helsinki Jokerit KHL League. I mean, Helsinki's Jokerit's my favorite team in the KHL, so I would not. I mean, you'd obviously make that team better. Let's be real, but yeah. Quinn will be gone. GM will want a new guy in the offseason. Yeah, let me know in the chat. 1 out of 10, how likely do you see David Quinn staying for next season? Because for me, I think that if David Quinn were to be fired, he would have gotten fired already this season. But with that whole new ownership coming in, not ownership, but managerial positions with Mark Messier and obviously Chris Drury as GM, that could definitely spill some things. Now, if I'm the Rangers and I'm looking at Gerard Gallant being available, I don't know why the heck you haven't taken a chance on that. Unless it's like crazy. Like, okay, I was going to say maybe unless he's a crazy asking price, but you're the New York freaking Rangers. You're the most valuable team in the NHL. Pay the man. I don't even pay him $10 million a year. Who cares? It's Gerard Gallant, and somehow he is not getting hired, which is crazy to me. That's just a golden horse looking you in the mouth. I think is that the phrase? I don't even know. Next season, Caps will be nothing. Everyone's old and slow. Yeah, I was thinking about when the Cap. I think the Caps will be. I think the Capitals will be decent this year, but I think 2023 is when they're gonna kind of start to decline. And thankfully for them, you got Matvei Michkov, who, and Connor Bedard, who might be pretty decent. Gift horse, not golden horse. Okay, thank you, Quinn. I appreciate it. Oh man. The Rangers got me so discombobulated. I can't even say common phrases right, man. I need some help. I need some absolute help. Cameron, what's going on? Welcome back. What would you have done if the Rangers hired Chiarelli, bruh? If the Rangers hired Chiarelli, oh man, I would have walked every single step, every single mile to get to the Rangers HQ and just give them a stern talking to. Put some extra, put some salt in their coffee. Put some hand set. No, that's actually pretty dangerous. Put some yogurt in their donuts. Put some give them some off-brand Coca-Cola instead of normal Coca-Cola. Better watch out. I'm watching you, Rangers. I'm watching you. Better know what happens if you hire Chiarelli. It's not gonna be pretty. And especially that Coca-Cola is not going to be pretty either because it's not good. Anyways. Which team should sign Gorton now? That's a good question, actually. Let me know in the chat because I think Jeff Gorton is an amazing GM candidate. If I'm a team that is in need of a rebuild and I'm looking at Jeff Gorton, I'm obviously, well, I was gonna say Seattle, but they already have, of course. Why the heck am I forgetting his name? One of the best players of all time, Ron Francis, as GM. I mean, let me know in the chat. Which team do you think will end up getting Jeff Gorton as GM? Because if I'm looking at a team right now, and I'm looking at a specific team right now, and I'm looking at myself, and I am the San Jose Sharks. And Doug Wilson hasn't exactly done a great job these past couple of years. But I am in need of a leader who can scout well, develop well, lead those departments into the promised land, and give myself an amazing future. Especially with these next two drafts after this one being stupendous. If I'm the San Jose Sharks, I am getting the heck out of Doug Wilson and going with Jeff Gorton. Another interesting option to me would be maybe the Columbus Blue Jackets and they get rid of Kekalainen. And maybe even the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, it seems like they're stuck with Stan Bowman forever and they're going to keep him forever. But if they somehow get to their senses, I think Jeff Gorton would be great on the Blackhawks. And I don't even know anybody else, really. I mean, maybe Buffalo goes with a new GM again after that young guy GM now and they're in a front office for only a year. I don't know. I think Jeff Gordon's going to land on his feet, though. He's one of the better GMs in the league if we were going to rank them right now. Check Larry Brooks' last tweets. All right, we shall see. What do they got here? Ooh. And on top of everything, I've heard that George Parros will be at the What? What? Hello? And on top of everything, I heard that George Parros will be at the Garden for tonight's game. At least that was the plan. Maybe he's dressing as the Rangers enforcer. Bro. You know what? I've said in the past that the NHL doesn't have enough fun in their league. But imagine George Parros, the head of NHL player safety, comes out of retirement to be a Rangers enforcer, knocks Tom Wilson out. I mean, it would pretty much be the WWE at that point, but are we complaining? Like, I don't even, like, honestly, just for the pure fun factor, that would be pretty much as crazy as it gets. But, yeah, he'll be watching the game, which is, wow. At least he's watching a Rangers game this year. Unlike the other Rangers games, especially this week, that he did not watch. I'm kidding. Bro, I like... What is this? This is so wacky, y'all. Of course George Parros is going to be there. Oh, man. He probably is going to watch the chaos that he's created. My goodness. Wilson is dead, man. And it's just the dun 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 George Parros comes out from the locker room right through the hallway, comes right into the ice. Wilson's just distracted by the scrummies, looking at Buchnevich, not even knowing what to do, trying to get some extra revenge. George Parros comes right from behind and just absolutely cranks him, and the crowd goes wild. The commentators says, "Oh my gosh, what happened on the ice? George Parros rocked Tom Wilson," and they're gonna do a big fight, and the line's coming through, and then Wayne Gretzky appears from the heavens, rains down, and then just body slams Tom Wilson all the way down to the ground, and it's a whole fight, and then everybody comes together, the whole fans come to the ice, and it's just a brawl, everybody taking each other out, one by one, everybody's getting the stakes, just chopping each other's heads off, and then that's the start of the apocalypse and World War III, and that's how it happens. So class, what did we learn today? The New York Rangers started World War III 20 years ago. It was a crazy occasion, and we're all dead. We're all in heaven because we all died from the Rangers apocalypse. I'm sorry to say it. Just how it is. Oh my goodness. Sam Rosen would go nuts. Yeah, another thing with Sam Rosen was that in the last game, he's always happy. Whenever he saw Tom Wilson, oh man, you could tell. You could tell. Sam would not appreciate Wilson in that one. Oh my goodness. NHL turns into WWE next NHL pay-per-view event. Honestly, like, if they're gonna guarantee George Parros back on the ice, I'd pay for that. I mean, I'm already paying for it since I'm paying for all the T games, but I'd pay more, I guess. Interesting Rangers lines tonight. Check them out. Oh, okay, Theo. Okay, I see you. I see you. And they're oh, okay. We got the lines from like Vince or anybody. Let's go NYR lines. How about that? How about that? Or no, not at NYR. Hashtag NYR. Nothing? Nothing? Bam. Here we go. Here we go. All right, here are the official lines for tonight's game against the Washington Capitals. On the first line, Rafa Torres centers with Sean Avery. Right wing, Matt Cook. On the left wing, on the second line, Matthew Tkachuk with centered by his dad, Tkachuk. And on the right wing, the other brother, Tkachuk. Mick Sorley centers on the left wing, centered by Ty Domi coming from retirement. On the right wing, Joe Thornton gets traded to the New York Rangers last minute. On the left wing, Ryan Reeves acquired from waivers. Zach Ronaldo coming up from the BCHL. And a shot on the right wing. Conor McGregor, Khabib, Tyson, Mayweather, Jake Paul, and Logan Paul. No goalies, not needed. I think that's pretty well said. Thank you, Theo, for that. Appreciate that a lot. Anyway. Mark Messier on the way the New York Rangers are currently built. In my opinion, if you're going to win, you got to be able to win in the street and the alley. I particularly would not have built the team that didn't have ants. What? Yo! Wow! Mark Messier is absolutely flaming everybody. Dang. I mean, my opinion, if you're gonna win, you gotta be able to win in the street and the alley. I particularly would not have built a team that didn't have answers in this regard. Dang! Oh my goodness! I mean, the thing is, again, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. If I was gonna build a team, I want a team that can play hard, play fast, play skilled, but also can have an edge to them. And that's why I think guys like Matthew Tkachuk and guys like Tom Wilson, when they're reined back out and not stupid every single game, can be very valuable players. Like, to me, again, what I'm really hoping Mark Messier is saying here is that you go the Tampa direction, where you get good players who can also play physical, but not go the enforcer direction, where you put out absolute bums that can't play just to be able to get a fight out there. Like, to me, the Tampa model is great, where you have the great skill players and the great youth, but you also have the players like Gorton and Coleman and Barclay Goodrow that could grind you down to a pulp and still score goals on you. And again, that's why Tom Wilson, when he's not stupid, is super valuable. That's what I'm hoping he's talking about. That's what I'm hoping he's talking about, is getting players like that. Not Tanner Glass, not Cody McLeod, players that can play. Like, again, if it's players that can play and play that physical game, then I like what Mark Messier is spitting here. But it's got to be that direction. That's how you win Stanley Cups. You don't have enforcers every single line. But you got to have some more toughness. I would agree with that the Rangers do need more toughness, but they also need a player that can play great and also be tough. That will be the perfect thing for the New York Rangers. Brendan Lemieux was a good physical presence, but he just wasn't that great. And he's kind of more in the line of not an enforcer, but a player that just can't play much outside the physical aspects of the game. You need a player who can do both things, and I'm really hoping the Rangers are able to acquire that or get it in some situation. H Fince 11 saying Lucic. Lucic is the exact one of the exact reasons why I don't. I'm a little bit scared of that, because Lucic, yes, provides the physical play, but he's also super slow still. Like, in a lot of ways, just isn't efficient whatsoever, and it's just not that great of a hockey player anymore. Like, prime Lucic, yes, that's the perfect player in that mold. But he's not prime Lucic anymore, and all these teams were expecting him to be prime Lucic. But if you can find a player in that kind of prime mold, then yes, I think that'd be a good fit for him. We choose violence. Let's go, Caps. Hey, tonight's gonna be interesting for any Caps fans that's watching the videos and watching the streams right now. Good luck tonight. Tonight's gonna be wacky. And as I was talking about before, I'll be streaming tonight's game between the Rangers and the Capitals in basically 2 hours. So I'll see you then. It's gonna be an absolutely fun brawl. I think there's gonna be a lot to talk about in tonight's game. So that's gonna be absolutely amazing. Let me check, by the way, if we're where we're at. All right, so we officially crossed 34.1k subscribers. I'll let you guys see it right here. If I can get it to focus real quick. Yeah, if I can get to focus real quick. There we go. 34,108 subscribers. There you go. Can we get some 34.1k in the chat down below? Because we're going to be making a new mod too, which is going to be pretty fun. Thank you all for the support, and thank you for the new subscribers coming in, about 40 in this live stream. Thank you all. Check player safeties, Twitter. Do they do anything new? NHL player safety. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Goodbye. Bye. Philadelphia's Shane Gosper has been suspended for 2 games for warning Pittsburgh's Mark Friedman. If you watched that play, I think it was worth some discipline. It was quite a bit dangerous. I would have given him a game. And I don't think Shane Gosper getting punishment here is the bad part. Because the bad part is that Shane Gosper got 2 more games. 2 more games than Tom Wilson. 2 more games. 2 more games. Now, again, I think both should have been suspended here. But if one or the other were to get suspended, I think it should have been Tom Wilson. That's my opinion. Just mine. Not the NHL's, just mine. But man. Like, in my opinion, you oh my goodness. And I think also Crosby should have been suspended, like maybe a game, gotten like a fine for what he did against Konechny, and he's not getting anything. Like, okay, at least in the aspect that Crosby isn't getting anything, at least they're consistent. At least they're consistent. He didn't get a fine, but he didn't get anything. So, hey, you can kind of you can push and shove a little bit of players as they go into the boards. That's gonna get a 2-game suspension. That's pretty bad, yeah. If you ragdoll a star player, if you grab his hair, flush him onto the ice, where he's gonna be out for the year because of it, and you're gonna cross-check Pavel Buchnevich's head because he's on the ice because he breathed on your goaltender, you get a $5,000 fine. It's all right. It's okay. Nothing, by the way, for the Artemi Panarin play, which should have been the suspension. Like, I think Buchnevich's play should have been like a fine. The Panarin situation should have been the suspension, in my opinion. But hey, at least they're consistent, I guess, man. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. New York needs the Bash Brothers Fulton Porton. Rangers should all wear cages on their helmets. I mean, go back to the the USA national teams do for their young players. So there you go. You get the retweets from there. Ah, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that Colton. Was that Colton Orr situation confirmed? Was that situation confirmed, Parker? Or I thought that was just a joke. Was it actually confirmed? Because that would have been interesting. Ghost was bad, but not worse than Wilson's IMO. I would agree. I think both should have been suspensions, personally. And Crosby should have gotten suspended. Like, people were talking about that being completely different. It is different, but I think Crosby should have gotten some punishment for that, too. That was still pretty bad. Not confirmed, okay. Why do we trade Lemieux? Because he is a physical presence that also can't really play that much. Can't play that great. And I think Lemieux is a guy that I would not love as a Stanley Cup win. I would not love Brendan Lemieux on a Stanley Cup winning roster. The thing is, if Brendan Lemieux was like a 50% better offensive player, then I think, yeah, you would love to keep him. But the guy just this year, whenever he played, he was invisible. And the thing is, too, of Lemieux is that in some aspects, yeah, he was still having that physical presence and was chirping a lot, but in a lot of ways, he was a lot less engaged than he was last year. Was that? I don't know if you guys noticed that, too. It felt like he was just doing a lot less for the Rangers this year. And I don't know, like, maybe you could give him a talk and it's something different, and he plays a different style there, maybe if you encourage him that way, but I don't know. It seemed like that's the type of player where if he was a better overall producer, if he was just a better player, I would love to keep him. But he was an okay fourth liner at that point. And for the Rangers, you could do better. Now, and that obviously opened up the floodgates for guys like Kravtsov to come in, and he had helped the Rangers quite a bit so far. So I'm not really too mad about that. And they got a second-round pick, I think, fifth-round pick? I can't even remember. Honestly, if the Rangers, we were talking about it earlier, like a Blake Coleman would be so huge for this Rangers team. Like that kind of physical presence who can also play, grind you down, forecheck well, and play the game like it should be played, where it's intense and it's on the edge, but it's also restrained a little bit, and you still get under the opponent's skin, and you still are able to make things happen. That to me is what the Rangers definitely need, and they need somebody who can play that game and still be decent. These guys make 10K a period. That's the unfortunate part. Doesn't even matter. Yeah, I think Tom Wilson, for his suspension or for his fine, that $5,000 fine, it would have been about the same. I can't remember exactly what the tweet, but it would have been like if a average U.S. citizen got fined $66. Like that's what we're talking about here, and it's. Like, to me, in a player like Tom Wilson, I mean, we can look at the cap friendly right here. We can look at the cap friendly. And this is the dumbest part, in my opinion, in terms of player safety and what the NHL needs to do better in the next CBA. Like, how do players get a max of $5,000? Like, the least you can make in the league is $725K. And even then, it's not like... If you're making $800,000, obviously 5K is still a decent bit, but it's not usually those players that are making those type of plays because they don't really have as much to work with compared to Tom Wilson, who makes $5.1 million a year. He makes that in 10 minutes of gameplay. Not even that. Like, to me, like a $5,000 fine, it should be adjusted for your cap. Like how much you make. If Alex Ovechkin makes $9 million, it should be like $100K. If Daniel Sprong, who makes $725K, it's maybe a $5K fine. It needs to be different for different players. You can't. I don't know. Especially the fines, like it's not adjusted like it should be, in my opinion. Too bad the Rangers didn't give D'Angelo. Yeah, like $50 for someone making 50 a year. Pretty much, Theo. Pretty much. No Coleman on New York Rangers. No, it must happen. It must happen. Honestly, I'm glad he's on Tampa, but him on the Rangers would be perfect. I'm sorry, Boyle. I'm sorry. I gotta put it out there. I mean, I want him on Dallas first and foremost, but hey, I will not complain on him with him in the New York Rangers. We'll see. Did the Rangers fire the GM because no Rangers tweets? Well, it was speculative and also reported by Vince that it was due in some ways because, or it was in some ways also that it was kind of a lead up. It was James Dolan was kind of leading up to it, mulling the decision like that. And from what I understand, it seemed like this was kind of like the last straw where Davidson and Gorton didn't quite agree or align or get the statement made by the Rangers, and Dolan just wanted to go in a completely different direction. So that's what basically we know now. We don't know every single detail, but we do know a decent bit. Oh, man. Nick Ritchie? Nick Ritchie's an interesting one. I think if you can get Nick Ritchie from this year, that's a pretty decent ad for the Rangers. But I'm really hoping he's not a one-year wonder. If you get Ritchie and then he goes back to his 2019 form, then you're kind of out of luck. But he's been great for the Bruins this year for sure. Yeah, I did check LaRock's Twitter. I know he was trying to get into the game tonight. I don't know if he tweeted anything else. Yeah, so if you didn't know, hey Rangers, give me a 1-game contract for tonight's game. Let me put that over here. There you go. Hey Rangers, give me a 1-game contract for tonight's game, and I'll take care of it. What a legend. What a legend. Hey boys, just tuning in. What's going on, James? Well, a lot is going on, to say the least. Subgraph, let's go. Hockey highlights, what's going on? Any team that needs a GM should hire him. Well, yeah, I think for Jeff Gorton, he'll be fine. He'll land on his speed. I think there's quite a few teams out there that would definitely have an upgrade for sure. Michael Miller, I'm with you. Why don't we just eliminate all physical contact and then no one will ever get bullied? Okay. Imagine defending Wilson. I'm thinking, like, here's the thing. It's tricky because I don't, like, it's, if you're a Capitals fan, yeah, you would probably defend Tom Wilson in some instances. If I was a Caps fan, which I'm not, but if I was, I would not defend him in this instance whatsoever. But he's like the player that, in some ways, the term you'd love to have him on your team is thrown around a lot. Like in this instance, I don't want him on my team. But in a lot of instances, I think Tom Wilson does get under the skin, but also is still a great player. And if he's just that, I'd love to have him on my team. The problem is Tom Wilson can do Tom Wilson things, and it can get out of control. So, I don't know. Carolina hit 36 wins yesterday. Are they the Cup favorites? For me, I think the Cup favorites still Colorado, but I mean, them, Vegas, Tampa, and Carolina are probably the big four, I would say, right now at least. I'm tired of people berating Wilson. It's hockey, and Wilson hit him in the shoulder after a dude kicked our goalie and Panarin jumping on the back of Wilson and got what he deserved. Like, the thing is, we're talking about jumping on the back of somebody and also, like, ragdolling a guy to the ice with no helmet. Like, here's the thing that I don't get. If Tom Wilson's a super tough guy, Why is he getting so triggered over somebody going on his back, slightly jumping on him? Wilson, Panarin, like, wasn't even, I don't even think was trying to take down Wilson that much. He was just jumping on him to get, like, right in the scrum. Like, if you're Tom Wilson and you're this, oh, I'm a super tough guy, you got triggered because somebody jumped on your back? Like, that happens a ton of times in scrums. Like, to me, I don't know. Like, the Panarin instance is a lot more egregious to me than the Buchnevich one. Like, the Buchnevich one, I can see Tom Wilson trying to go after him because he was around the goaltender. But, like, I think he went a lot farther than he should have because Buchnevich didn't really do anything. I mean, kicking the goaltender? I didn't see that. The Rangers doing April Fool's a month late. Puljujärvi over Laine. I mean, Puljujärvi's the best player on the planet, so I would agree with that. Are you streaming the game? Yes, I will. Yes, I will be. Tough guys don't pull hair. Well, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I mean, Wilson doesn't need to either. Like, Wilson can be a lot more... Wilson can be a lot more smart with his physical play than that. Like, to me, it's just like, he's shown he can play under your skin and still be restrained in some ways. And here's the thing. Tom Wilson is so fascinating with how far he goes with things. Because before this year, I thought he was actually not as dirty as he used to be. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like in 2020 and even some of the 2019 season, he wasn't really like getting that much attention. He wasn't really getting that much like spread national coverage really, because he wasn't really doing that much. But it seems like before 2020 and 2019 and this season, like this season, he took out Brendan Carlo. Brendan Carlo, if you want to look at the story, I mean, I can look up the Brendan Carlo thing now, because this is one of the most fascinating things. I think it's Brandon Carlo. My bad. Oh, man. Never mind. I think it's Brendan Carlo. Is it Brendan Carlo? I think it is Brendan Carlo. Now I gotta scroll up. Actually, Brendan Carlo Wilson, because there's a good never mind. Why am I? Okay, maybe I should just go Carlo Wilson, because there was a screenshot from The Athletic, I believe, where come on, give me it. Basically, I'll paraphrase it. Okay, here we go. So let me put this widescreen so you guys can see all of it, or at least as much as humanly possible. So Parros, we've heard, this coming from The Athletic, by the way. Parros, we've heard, didn't even want to suspend Wilson for the brain-damaging assault on Boston's Brandon Carlo, who suffered mood changes and blurry vision from his concussion after being hospitalized by Wilson in March. Bettman didn't like the optics and ordered a suspension, so Wilson got 7 games. Before that, he wasn't even considered a repeat offender because the CBA erases priors after a certain period of time transpires. Just absurd. I think we also, yeah, so Parros did not want to suspend Wilson for that hit, which should have totally been a suspension. Like, it wasn't even close to borderline. Wilson jumped his feet up, wasn't even having his stick near the ground, and it went right up through his shoulders into the head of Carlo. And Carlo hasn't played a game since that game. He hasn't even set foot on NHL ice since then. And now he's just getting a fine for that. Like, I don't know. Like, this year was where I think Wilson started to get back to those bad levels, I think. Hope you and your family are well, Grav. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, Jacob. Hoping the same for you, my man. Hockey isn't fun to watch anymore. I love when every team in the NHL have 4 to 5 tough guys and fighting all the time. Bring back Colton or John Scott for tonight's game against the Caps. I mean, to me, Daniel, I think if you don't like, if you can't watch hockey without fights, and this will be a little bit of an unpopular opinion for some, but if you can't stand watching hockey without fights, how much did you like hockey to begin with? Like, to me, you kind of just like the fighting. You like the action there. You like kind of like the WWE, UFC. Like, if you want to watch just fighting, like, to me, I like seeing the fights occasionally in the games. I like seeing physical plays in the games. But to me, what I go for in the NHL is speed, it's skill, it's great saves, it's amazing opportunities. I go to hockey for the hockey, not the brawls. I like seeing it once in a while, and I think for a lot of teams, it definitely is a good thing to have. But to me, it's the full package. I want to see everything in hockey, not just the fighting. And I don't think hockey's bad. I think hockey, in terms of entertainment, is the best it's ever been. Like, I remember this past summer, I watched a ton of games from the 80s, and it's still great hockey, don't get me wrong. And obviously guys like Gretzky, and I was watching Gretzky versus Bure in that classic game. And it's like, those are still amazing players to watch. But I think the game's a lot more refined now. It's a lot more, and in some ways, I mean, for some people that's perfectly fine to say that it's less now because it's more refined and a little bit more predictable, maybe. But to me, I think it's a lot more of a clean and finished product, where I think skill and speed is what the NHL should advertise the most, because to me that's the most entertaining. And for you, of course, it's the fights that's still perfectly fine. You can like whatever you want to like. But to me, as a new age fan, it's still predictable that I like the new age hockey more. But I don't know. I think having a mix of both worlds is good. And I think the NHL is kind of in that scenario. I don't want to see fights every single period of every single game, but I think it should be like a few years ago level, where you still saw fights and you still saw some brawls, but it wasn't the main focus. And I don't think it should be, personally. But that's just me, obviously. What did you thought of McTavish at the U18s? Also, we'll be watching Canada versus Sweden at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be keeping track of it, and McTavish has looked really good for Canada. I think he's looked awesome. We'll definitely be rising up my rankings for sure. And a lot of players on Canada have looked good. I've loved Stankoven once again. But yeah, McTavish is definitely has impressed me some of the most in the U18s. Let me see here. I love hockey for all aspects and not just fighting, but I don't like how they're trying to limit it. Well, the thing is, I don't think it's tough, because I don't think in some ways I don't think they're limiting it. I think it's just like, what's gonna win you games, and the solution, the answer is having an enforcer that does almost nothing for you besides fighting on the fourth line doesn't win you games. You need to have players who can play physical, and like, the thing is, fighting in a lot of ways doesn't win you games at all. It's kind of just like a spectacle. And I think there was, I can't remember who made it, but there was like a statistical profile made a year ago where it was like that fights that were actually made by a team looking to get back in the game, how many times did that fight actually change things? And the answer was it barely changed anything compared to actual normal games where the team's down and trying to get back in the game. It barely changed anything in terms of the actual win percentages. Like, to me, if I'm an NHL GM, I'm doing the most to win games, and having a Cody McLeod or having a Tanner Glass isn't going to win you games. Having a guy like Blake Coleman, though, that can play in the playoffs amazingly and bring physical presence, but also play amazing, that's what wins you games. That's what wins you Stanley Cups. And I think the NHL has kind of just changed in that way. But I think we also will still see a little bit of a return in some ways, because I think guys like Blake Coleman and guys like Matthew Tkachuk and Tom Wilson are going to be heavily valued. If they can bring that kind of presence and still not be suspended every other game, that will be huge. But I think that's kind of where the NHL is trending towards. And it's just what will win you games, pretty much. Like the video, everybody. I agree, Jacob. If you haven't hit that like button or hit that subscribe button, make sure you do so. And once again, we'll be live in pretty much an hour and a half for the Capitals and Rangers game. I hope to see you there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And I just realized I have to go back to my house to get a cable to link it all up. But yeah, I'll be there for sure. It's going to be a crazy one. How many? You know what? Let me know in the chat down below. Let me know in the chat down below on a scale of 1 to 10. How intense and crazy physically do you see this Caps and Rangers game actually ending up being? Because I'm going to say it's going to be an 8. I mean, we might see a couple of fights. I think Tom Wilson's obviously going to be targeted quite a bit, but I think we could also see some different shenanigans when it comes to different players in the Capitals maybe stepping up and different players in the Rangers potentially stepping up too. I think it's going to be a pretty wacky one. So I'm going to say 8 on that one. Fights are fine, but actually causing career-ending injuries is not. Yeah, absolutely agreed on that one. What's going to happen to Jack Johnson? Honestly, like, probably going to be in the AHL. And he's a great person, obviously, but he's just not an NHL player, and it's kind of sad. But yeah, I mean, he's just not great. And the Rangers, I think, also found that out this year, which they didn't really need to, because we've already found that out for a long time. But it is what it is, I guess. What even happens? I saw the hit and the fine, but other than that, what happens? With the Gorton situation, of course, we did see them both fired, but it seemed like, of course, the owner for the Rangers, James Dolan, had a little bit of disagreements with them in the past, mulling over the potential decision to get rid of them. And what my theory is that them not really perfectly aligning with the statement made by the Rangers in yesterday, I mean, kind of contradicted what James Dolan wanted. I think that was kind of the last straw for both of them with the Rangers organization, which I think is an overstatement. I think it's an over-exaggeration, but it is, I think, what ended up happening. Yeah, so John Davidson is fired too. So the president and GM gone from the New York Rangers. Two big dominoes to fall, which, again, we talked about it a lot earlier in the stream. I think it was a pretty major overreaction, but we'll see. If Messier comes in as the president, is prepared, and also you have Chris Drury as a GM, I think it has potential. I don't think it's going to be as good as Davidson and Gorton could potentially make this team. But there was obviously some big disagreements when it comes to the ownership and the management, and we see a big change happen there. So honestly, I'm kind of coming into terms with this decision. I'm not completely happy with it, but I can see some reasons why. But man, I like this Rangers season has made my brain into absolute mush. I don't know about you guys, especially the Rangers fans here, but just every single week it seems to be something crazy going on. Oh man. James, the coach, David Quinn is still here, which is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. By the way, if any of you guys did end up subscribing to the channel, make sure you let me know in the chat. Let me say subscribe or something so I can shout you guys out if you did. We make almost daily hockey content on this channel, a lot of Rangers content too, just like this one, breaking down all the live news and all the live stuff just like this. So we'd love to have you in here for a long time too. And welcome to Grab Game if you're coming here for the first time as well. Steve Ott in attendance tonight. Bro, every single enforcer and their mothers are coming in for tonight's game. And if you're NBCSN, you couldn't have picked a better game to have on national television. That's going to be a good money-making one for them. Low-key hoping the Rangers don't even show up to the game. I'd love to see the league react to that. Rangers have nothing left to lose by this, or by just not showing up. I mean, yeah, the Rangers are obviously eliminated for the playoffs, so they don't really need to play this game. That'd be pretty crazy, though. I mean, yeah, if the Rangers are going to stick by that statement, and like, it's interesting because, I think it's a little bit of overreaction still to skip a game and fire a GM and the president. But if you're going to want to make an impact, if you want to really see change, I mean, like the New York Rangers, the NHL's most valuable franchise, sitting out for a game. I mean, calling them out is already a huge deal, but sitting a full game, that sends even a bigger message, I think. And if I'm George Parros and I'm looking at this whole situation, I am absolutely, I ain't sleeping yesterday night or the night before that or tonight. It is not a great week for me. But if I'm George Parros also, I would just make better decisions. That's my advice personally. Any chance Kakko gets traded? If the Rangers trade Kakko, I will destroy them. Like, I'm really hoping that Mark Messier doesn't mean that they're going to trade the young players that actually made this team exciting, because if you take away a lot of those young players, you take away the promise that this Rangers team has. Unless you're going to give him up in like an Eichel plus type of trade. Like if you're getting Eichel and like Jokiharju or something. Like, I don't even know. Like, to me, Kakko was one of the most productive, one of the most consistent, one of the most efficient Rangers players this year. Production-wise, it might not look like it, but he was one of the most, like in a lot of games, he was one of the only Rangers truly putting in effort and truly playing well. He was one of the best forecheckers in the NHL this year, one of the best players in terms of his turnover and giveaway rate in the NHL. To me, he had a lot of positive signs, and just looking at the points and trading him because of that, I would be pretty disappointed about that personally. But 12 Lego also had a great point. We are making a new mod right here and right now. Because we hit 20 or 34.1k, we'll be making the mod right now. So get some mod hype in the chat down below, because we're gonna be making a new one right now. By the way, I'll pull up my Twitter if you have not followed already. Make sure you do so. Selfish plug, I know. All right, so let's see who's here. And my phone died. What the heck? Oh, come on. My phone died right when I was looking at the chat. Can we not do this? Bruh. Get some F's in the chat if you haven't already. Because, yeah. That's just failing me. What the heck is going on there? Alright, now I gotta load up the chat here real quick. Give me a second, y'all. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Alright. Going to the YouTube channel and going to the this right now. Here we go. Here we go. Looking good. Looking fresh. Looking awesome. By the way, did the thumbnail look weird for you guys? It seemed like when I went to my channel, it was a super looked super crappy. I don't know what the heck that was about. But it's back now. Alright, so now I'm back in the chat and we will see who will get the mod here for today. Alright, who we got? Who we got? Who we got? Oh baby. Oh baby. You know what? You know what? This is one of the goats on this channel. 12 Lego. Next time around, I will be giving you the mod. But I think I need to get this person mod because this person has been here for a long time. I'm talking about a long time. And a lot of the videos, you'll see him in like the first 5-10 minutes, always putting in something in the comments. Always putting in someone and being an absolute goat. And also is an NHL power player. The new moderator has been named, so I think the person knows who he is. But put something in the chat down below because the new mod has been named and get some hype going. Not you yourself, proponent king. Nah, Hayden, Hayden, you're the goat here. If we're being honest, you deserve the crown. Grab Gang is the best on YouTube, the best gang out there, baby. My favorite player in the NHL by far. If you're talking about Capo Caco, yes. If you're talking about Capo Caco, I agree. But yeah, the stream will be starting in about an hour and a half for that Rangers and Capitals game. I'll be live then. I actually need to go in like 10 minutes, so we'll see. Let me see. Did they actually talk yet? Yes, they did. Juan Jose, welcome to the mod squad. Absolutely appreciate it. Another Florida Panthers fan joining R2 into the mod squad. Appreciate it. Can we get some Juan Jose hype in the chat down below for my boy, my man? You know, I'm gonna also put in the chat here. Juan Jose hype from my brother. What was the disagreement between the GM and ownership concerning the Wilson story? Well, we did get some interesting words here. The first one that came from Vince. I'm still gathering info, but what I'm hearing is that this did not have to do with NYR statement about Tom Wilson. Rather, this is something owner Jim Dolan has been mulling, even through rebuild is going well by most accounts, wasn't happening fast enough for him. So what I think is that it wasn't because of the Tom Wilson situation, but it didn't help either. It seemed like this was going to come eventually, and that this was kind of the last straw. This Tom Wilson situation was kind of the last straw for it. So I think it wasn't directly because of it, but it was also not helped at all. Hello from Slovakia, only Pokeball. Welcome to the stream. Can we get some Pokeball hype in the chat? He only has one L in his name, so Pokeball hype. Coming from Slovakia, welcome to the Grab Gang, man. Appreciate you a ton. Yeah, Juan Jose is the man, the myth, the legend. Sorry, I've been watching for a year, but on another account. Hey, no problem, hockey highlights. Appreciate being
only. It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Well, thanks so much for subscribing. Man, I haven't had this subscriber thing work in like a year. I still don't know what the problem is. I've looked up everything and I don't even know. I might need to make like a new account or something on Streamlabs, but it's just, you know, I don't even want to talk about it because it's so sad. Let me by the way see. Okay. What's up from Toronto? Mark Howard. What's going on, Mark? Thanks for acknowledging my question, but what was the situation really like? What bad did the GM do? Well, personally, I didn't think that Jeff Gorton did that much bad, Tommy. But it seemed like just the rebuild wasn't going that fast. I think James Dolan probably wanted the playoffs to happen this year. He probably wanted to see some huge steps happen, which I think was super unrealistic. Like, to me, if there's any year to not expect that, it would be this year. There's so much craziness, and it's such an anomaly. And you go from, you have a division which is crazily good, and to make the playoffs, it's super competitive. Like, to me, that's like, to me, in that sense, it's an overreaction for sure. Like, you can make an assumptions on seasons prior, I guess, but like in pandemic seasons where we've heard players just being absolutely miserable and just wanting to get through the year, like in that kind of situation, like the New York Rangers have so many young players too. Like, this is a building step. Like, for how much James Dolan has done. I mean, the player who could win you the Norris Trophy was acquired by James Dolan Jeff Gorton for 2 second-round picks. 2 second-round picks, and you were getting rid of him because he didn't make the playoffs this year? Why? I don't know, man. To me, the team made progress in the ways I think they should have made progress. And if it really is only because the rebuild didn't happen as fast as he wanted it to happen, that's just a poor move by James Dolan. I'm sorry. It's just a bad play by him. It's just a bad decision. We'll see though how it ends up working out. We got Hockey Arcade coming in here, my man. What's up? I'm so excited for the game. How are you doing, brother? I'm doing well. I'm honestly so hyped for this game tonight. I hope to see you all there. You guys know, for especially Rangers content, all the stream content, this is the place to be. So I'll see you there. I'll probably be starting at 5:30, but probably a little bit earlier than that, probably like 5:20 ish. So we'll get that started and talk about the Tom Wilson situation some more as well. Who's better, Jack Hughes or Capo Caco? It just depends on what you're looking for. I would say Capo Caco is the much better overall player right now, but Jack Hughes still has the skating and still has the speed and skill that has gotten some success so far. But neither are busts, I'll say that. If you were a Rangers player or coach, would you sit out the game as a protest, or would you play the game as usual and go after Wilson? I kind of talked about that a little bit, Lucas, but we were talking about what Tom Wilson wants to see. Because so far, Tom Wilson has been winning in every single situation. He didn't get suspended. The Rangers put out a whole statement because of him. And also, they fired their GM and president, which might not be because of Tom Wilson completely, but if you're looking at it, if you're Tom Wilson, you would probably credit it to yourself to just have that whole situation. Like, if we're being real here, does Jeff Gorton and Davidson get fired today if the Tom Wilson situation didn't happen? I don't think it would. I think if they were going to get fired, it would be in the offseason. Not today. With the season still left, there's still games left in the season. To me, I don't think it would have happened. I think it would have been later on. But I think the Rangers, just with that game, Dolan was probably looking at it very intensely and decided to make a change. And that's how it happened. Do you think the Leafs will get by the first round? I think so, Mark. I mean, the Habs, I think, can have some success, but we'll have to see. Their goaltending will have to carry them pretty hard. 5 hours away from hockey Twitter, and the NHL is on fire. Yep, Maurice. Pretty much. Dude, I think that Rangers tweet... How many likes does that Rangers tweet have? 81,000. Is that the most liked NHL related tweets, like, in the past few years? Like, when was the last time a tweet went this viral? 81,000 likes. That's incredible. Man, I'm baffled by that. Like, I don't even know if the let's look up the let's look up the Lightning's Stanley Cup winning post from last year. Let's go TB Lightning Stanley Cup. Let's go let's go Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. This is our time. You're Tampa Bay Lightning or Stanley Cup champions. 33,000 likes. 33,000 likes. The Rangers got more than twice as much from just that. Like, that's crazy. That just shows how big this situation is. And I don't think the NHL is going to take that lightly. NHL's Bill Daily. Let me look this up real quick. Because I have a subscription to The Athletic. Let me look at this article real quick. All right, so I don't want to give away this whole article because obviously it's a paid thing and that's gonna get pretty sketchy. But I'll just show the Tom Wilson parts. So this is coming from the NHL's Bill Daly, who I think is assistant commissioner, or not assistant commissioner, but he's a big part of the NHL and pretty much the second man to Gary Bettman. So this is what he had to think about the Tom Wilson situation. The Tom Wilson situation at Madison Square Garden. This quote coming from this part right here, coming from Pierre LeBrun. The Tom Wilson situation at Madison Square Garden. The decision to fine Tom Wilson and the subsequent press release sent out by the Rangers suggesting George Parros, the head of the Department of Player Safety, wasn't fit to be in his position. What was the league's response to the Rangers release? So the next part is Bill Daly. Well, I think I think certainly it was an emotional response, and I'm sensitive to that and sympathetic to that. And certainly the Rangers feel strongly about their position. I think we've always endorsed the club's ability to express its views. You know, I can't endorse a personal attack against any league staff, particularly George. I think George is a smart, hardworking, hockey experienced head of Department of Player Safety. I think he's done a fabulous job from day one. I think he continues to do a fabulous job. It's a tough job. It's a thankless job. There are always differences of opinion, and there will always be differences of opinion going forward. So whether you agree with him or not, the fact of the matter is George does his homework. He relies on president, and he makes judgments, and I respect the fact that the Rangers may disagree with his judgment, but I don't think it's a reflection, of George's ability to do his job. Now, the next thing was any concern about Wilson's track record and the fact he received only a fine. I guess the track record of player safety vis-a-vis Tom Wilson kind of proves your suggestion that, looks like he put himself in a position, but the spotlight's on him and everything he does is scrutinized to the 9th degree and probably far more than other players doing similar things. And again, he's earned that. He's put himself in that position. But the fact of the matter is how the Department of Player Safety has treated him over time. I can't get into the rationale of this particular decision other than I think it was a little bit different than anything else he's ever done. But the fact of the matter is he has held to a higher standard and probably rightfully so. Will there be sanctions for the Rangers for their response? I'm not really in a position to update kind of where we are. That's an internal league matter. Obviously, if and when that point comes, or there comes a point in time where there is something to announce in that regard, it will be announced. Has there been contact between you and Gary and the Rangers since the release put out by the Rangers? I can't confirm that there has been since the statement. No. So there you go. That's pretty much the main points on Tom Wilson, coming from the NHL's Bill Daly, which pretty much is what we expected, pretty much the status quo. I mean, he's obviously not saying everything, because that's how you're supposed to do it. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense that he would go to bat for George Parros as a league employee. So I'm not really too surprised by that. But some interesting info there in terms of how they're recording that response by the Rangers for sure. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream so far. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us. I mean, maybe we can get to, depending on how the stream is tonight, we could get to 34.2K, which would be absolutely amazing. If you haven't, though, we'll see you tonight and hit that. Wait a second. Can I get a shout out, please? I've been here for a year on a different account. Please say my name. It would make my day, please. Hey, Linda. Let's get some Linda hype. Appreciate it, and welcome back to the Grab Gang. Great to have you once again, and thanks so much for being here for a year. That's a long time. I mean, for me, and attention span with YouTubers, I usually only watch my YouTubers for like a year and then I drop out. Thanks so much though for continuing to be here and continuing to be a part of the Grab Gang. We love you. Does Kopitar hit 1K points today? I think he will. Who does he play? They play the Blues. Oh no, no, he's not in the Ducks. Oh, he plays the Coyotes. Yes, absolutely. Oh, and what's going on? Larry is officially here. Let's go, baby. Brad, what's going on? Wait a second. How's it going, Grab? Glad to be in the stream. Josh, glad to have you in the stream, brother. Hopefully having a fantastic day. When the Knicks are good, so Dolan goes to freak with the Rangers. Yeah, he can't sabotage the Knicks any longer, so he puts his attentions to other things. What do you think will happen tonight? I think there'll be a couple of fights. I think we will see the Rangers pull some shenanigans, let's say. I think Tom Wilson will definitely get a lot of attention. I don't think it's going to be line brawls or anything, but I think we will see a lot of interesting action tonight. That's for sure. And obviously, I'm streaming it, so I want you guys to be excited about it too. So I'm biased in that aspect, but I think we'll see a pretty good game tonight. That's for sure. Let me know in the chat. We'll obviously get the predictions in for tonight's game when we are streaming it. But let me know in the chat. Who do you think, or what do you think the score will end up being in that game? Caps, Rangers, final score, let me know. But I do definitely need to run. We got 214 people here. Once again, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. And finally, if you didn't, I didn't get to you, let me know in the chat by saying you subscribed, and I'll give you a big old shout out too. Oh, one, I say no problem. No problem. Hope you had a fantastic day and a great soccer practice. Kopitar 1K point is an assist to Byfield's first goal. Who gets the puck? Ooh, I think they'd probably cut it in half and give it to both. It's like one of those heart brace or heart friendship bracelets where one person gets the one side of the heart and then the other, so they can complete each other. That's what I'm thinking. Mr. News, what's going on? Yes, I'm gonna be live for the Caps and Rangers game, starting at about 5:30, maybe 5:20 Central. 6:30-ish Eastern. Who do you think will be better in 5 years, Capo Caco or Jack Hughes? I would say most likely it would be Jack Hughes, but I still love me some Capo Caco. Plot twist, Batman. Hey, Schwalliger, thanks so much for following on Twitter. Appreciate that a ton. Hey, Hunter U249. Thanks so much for subscribing, Hunter. Let's get some Hunter hype. Appreciate it. Some since November grab. Yeah, hey, and you've been here for a long time. Appreciate it a ton. Anton Forsberg, yeah, I did see that. I did see that extension. He's actually been pretty okay for the Sens. Good for him. All right, so I think that'll be pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks so much for coming in. Once again, if you haven't already subscribed already, make sure you do so for almost daily hockey content just like this one. Hit that like button too, because we're at 250 likes and we could get to 300 with your guys' help. And also hit that notification bell to get notified on the new live streams coming out, when the new videos coming out as well. So you can be potentially the first person live stream and the first person in the videos too. But I'm gonna give some shout outs here to the people still in this live stream. 2 hours later, pretty much. We got Jess Boisvert, Aiden, Linda Camp, Ty Queen, Sarah and Steven, 12 Lego, Cameron, Coach Rob Willie. We got Robert McGrath coming in here, Tint, my man, Hockey Arcade, Grease Dub, Deaf Guy, Maxime, Hayden, Ian Marcor, Aiden Rids, Juan Jose, Warren CF, Moritz, who else? Alan Hawkins in here, Edie Roberts, Maxime, let me see, I'm trying to get to everyone. Steven Morant in here too, Josh Contos, Speedy V, Cara Crawl, Just Hockey, Mr. Noobs, of course, Hunter as well, Gus coming in here, Hockey Arcade, Jacob Lopez, Jordan Jaiman, trying to see anybody else, Philip Oman coming in here too. Thank you all so